I'm Jody with the United Pawnbrokers out of Jonesboro, Arkansas. Today I have a very interesting firearm to talk about. This is the IMI Uzi carbine that was imported by Action Arms, and this particular one is a Model B. The Model B was imported from 1983 to 1989 and was available in a few different calibers. 22 long rifle, 9mm like we have today, 41 AE and 45 ACP. These guns were converted to shoot from the closed bolt configuration compared to the open bolt like most submachine guns of the time. And then going into what makes this gun a Model B instead of a Model A, there are a few differences. For the Model B, we have an adjustable rear sight, and that is adjustable from the side for windage. On the Model A, the windage was changed from the front sight. Instead, we now have a drum style elevator on the front sight, and since you cannot adjust windage with the front, that is why they have it on the back. The Model A's did not have a windage adjustable rear sight. For the sling swivels on the Model B, it's a tiny change. On the Model A, it can only rotate 90 degrees. On the Model B, we can rotate this little sling swivel 360 degrees, and of course it'll fold off to the side. And for the Model B, it also has an internal firing pin safety, which prevents the firearm from shooting out a battery, which the Model A's, I don't know how much of a problem that was, but it is definitely an improvement on the Model B. And we'll get a closer look at it here in just a second. But for the biggest differentiation, of course it will say Model B on the side of the receiver. To make this firearm legal to import and own, originally, an Uzi would have a 10-inch barrel, but it has been given a 16-inch rifle barrel. And one thing that is kind of interesting about these firearms, whenever you bought them new, a lot of them did come with a 10-inch display barrel, which of course you could not fire the gun with that, but you can take off the barrel nut and then insert that fake 10-inch barrel to get you the full look. To go through the features of this gun, of course, going back to that barrel, we do have a 16-inch non-threaded barrel. For the forend, it is a ribbed texture and has a pretty full-size grip on there. For the trigger guard, it is kind of largened so that way you can use gloves. And the trigger on it is a smooth standard shoe. The front of the grip, completely smooth and kind of boxy, but of course for the rear grip, we have that rib texture continuing on. On the back, we do have a grip safety, which you do have to squeeze in order for the gun to fire. On the other side of the firearm, we do have a safety selector. Of course, since this one is semi-auto, it just has two positions, and that is to be actuated with the thumb of a right-handed shooter. And your magazine release is kind of a heel release, and that will release your 25-round magazine. This gun does have the collapsible stock. To deploy that, you simply just smack the bottom of it, and that will allow you to deploy the stock. Not the most comfortable thing in the world, and some of these guns were imported with a wooden stock, but it does allow you to get a good cheek weld. And to collapse the stock, you simply squeeze on the rear part, then you have a detent on the front. Line up the front, the middle of the stock, and then you just hit it back in place, so that way it's retained. Your charging handle, of course, is on top, and it does reciprocate, but it does have a nice cutout so that way you can still see through your sights. And of course, going into the Uzi itself, it was used by dozens of countries, and I'm sure still has plenty of adopters. And it has a little bit of a family. This is the standard Uzi. There's also the Mini, the Micro, and the Uzi Pro, which we do have an example of that we'll have a video on shortly. And for the dimensions of this gun, has the 16-inch barrel. It has a 24.5-inch overall length while collapsed. Whenever it is extended, it extends it out to 31 3/4 inches. It has a height of 9.5 inches, a width of 1 3/4 inches. With the stock deployed, it has quite a long length of pull at 15 3/4 inches. And a weight of 8 pounds, 12 ounces. So this gun is pretty hefty, but of course it is awesome. Let's take a closer look at some of the markings on it. Alright, to go over the markings on this older Action Arms import Uzi Model B. Starting off at the rear of the receiver, you do have the Action Arms Limited from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And of course, you have your serial number, the SA for semi-auto. This will also give us a better look at that rear sight. As you can see, it is adjustable for windage if you have a little kind of spanned bit. You do have a 2 aperture sight, one being quite small and the other one being just slightly larger. Here you have that flat grip safety, which is pretty easy to use. Going through the front, don't have any markings on the front sight. And of course, there is your retention piece for the barrel nut. On the other side, got much of the same. Here you have your thumb safety, 2 position, being that it's a semi-auto gun. One thing to note, not very comfortable for left-handed people. Kind of gets right in the way of the grip. That is something that they actually updated on the Uzi Pro. And on the back, you have Uzi Semi-Auto Model B 9mm Parrot Barrel, IMI for Israeli Military Industries, and of course made in Israel. Up top, you do have a warning label. It says alterations to this firearm are unsafe and illegal. Read manual before operating. Unfortunately, we do not have the manual with this gun, but according to the gun itself, you could get yourself in some legal trouble for altering this, which of course laws have changed a little bit since the time that this gun was imported. Up front, we do have that elevation adjustable front sight. And as you can see, it just has a little detent, and then you're able to rotate that sight. Then you have your top charging handle, which is that hollowed out section in the middle. The magazines on the Uzi are really affordable, and as you can see, has witness holes for 10, 15, 20, and 25 rounds. Have the IMI lettering there. Surplus mags are really affordable, and you can use the newer Uzi Pro mag. So for the Uzi Pro magazines, of course, a little bit longer, and they are of extended capacity, as you can see there. They do have a more updated IWI Israel logo and Uzi Pro on the other side. Main difference between these mags is the magazine release cuts. For the Uzi Pro, you do have that cut out for the updated magazine release. But fortunately, you can put the new magazines in the older guns. Unfortunately, you can't do that the other way. The Uzi Pro will not take the older Uzi mags without modification.